All right, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the summer edition of the Running Club at UC Riverside podcast episode. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm your host, Daniel Yang, president of Running Club, with my co-host, Thomas Kawase, vice president of Running Club.
Yep.
Today, we have a very special guest from our history, founder of the Running Club at UC Riverside, Jorge Sanchez.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Running Club at UCR was founded in 2009 by Jorge Sanchez, Daniel Yaming, and Evan Word. Running Club has been a club for anyone, both inside and outside at UC Riverside, who enjoys running, is looking to meet wonderful people who have similar running goals. UCR is a great place filled with so much ideas, and was wondering what made you have the idea of creating a running club, and how did it start?
All right, cool. Yeah, no, so I've always been into running. So when I got to UC Riverside, there wasn't a running club, but there was a triathlon club, but they only had one or two running practices a week. And at the time, I just wanted a lot more running practices. So what happened was, I'm trying to remember what exactly happened, but dang, it's been so long.
That's been over
11 years right now.
Like 10 years for me. But no, so I actually wanted more practices, but then also I saw a few things that were going on at the time. So I don't even know if Triathlon Club still exists at Riverside. Do you guys know?
I think there's a cycling club.
There's a cycling club, but not I don't know if there's a triathlon club still.
All right, so the cycling club actually also kind of branched away from the triathlon club also. So what happened is a lot of guys, so we'd be out on runs sometimes, they would be joined on their first day, and we would take off on runs and we'd just leave them behind. So one of the first things I was kind of like, oh man, we need to figure out a way to also kind of cater to runners that are just starting, because then they're not going to stick around. So then I personally wanted to start running more and try and kind of have a group of people to go out and socialize with and have a lot of fun running. But first I pitched it to Evan Word, and because he was part of the triathlon club, and I was talking to him and I was just like, hey, what if we started a running club? And at first Evan was like, we don't really need a running club. We already have a triathlon club. So I was like, okay. But one day Daniel came to a practice, and then Daniel didn't come to a triathlon practice, but I started running just by myself, probably around winter quarter, my freshman year. And
one day, thinking about this freshman year,
yeah. So I started this I started the process my freshman year of UCR, and then what happened one day is I saw Daniel, and I just went up to him. I was like, hey, Daniel, you came to a triathlon practice once, and he was like, yeah. And then I asked him, I just invited him, hey, do you want to go out on a run with me? And he's like, yeah, let's go out on a run. And we agreed to meet up in the morning the next day. And I actually was surprised that he actually showed up, because this was kind of like a complete stranger. But I had briefly acquainted with Daniel. And then we went out on a 4 or 5 mile run together. And we were just talking, and then I told him, hey, so I actually wanted to start a running club, but I don't know if there's enough interest out there. And then Daniel's from Arcadia, and he told me that his roommate was also from Arcadia and ran. So then we invited roommate out to run, and then it was us three. And then I was like, okay, I have a few people in my building that used to run as well. So I went back to Evan, because he was on the cabinet for a triathlon club, and I told Evan, I was like, hey, I have about 5-6 people that are interested in starting a club. How about now? Would you be interested in getting the club going? And that's when Evan was like, all right, let's do this. So I remember that's when we just started telling anybody and everybody we could, hey, let's get a running club going. Let's get a running club going. And I remember our first official meeting was in my building. I lived in Pentland Day, and we held it in one of the suites, and then 20, 25 people showed up to our meeting, and that's where I first made the pitch. So we should have a running club, because there's a lot of us that are runners, and maybe we're not exactly on UCR's track or cross country team, but we still have a lot of passion and love for it. And and then there was like, yeah, let's do this. So then I got their emails, and then I invited them out to a practice, and then we just slowly started running together. And but there's like certain processes that the school had to make it an official club. One of them was that you need a minimum of 5 people. So we had that. So we were good with that. Then we also needed to attend a few meetings through the student government. And one of the meetings we couldn't attend until the summer. So we couldn't become an official club just yet my freshman year. So we started having like unofficial practices and runs together.
That's cool.
And then we had to create the Constitution. And I remember we created that Constitution the summer before my sophomore year. We just all met up we just met up. It was myself, Daniel, and I think Evan might have showed up because Evan had a lot of the background in how the clubs kind of work. So he was kind of constantly like guiding myself and Daniel on how to do this. And then there was a few other guys that were still kind of in and out of it, but they definitely weren't in it as much as Daniel, myself, and Evan were at the time.
And so you started this club technically your sophomore year, is that correct? Like officially started.
So it became an official club my sophomore year, my second year at UCR.
And you said Evan felt like a little bit of mentor. Was he like a sophomore or junior at the time?
No, he was a freshman also. Evan, he was a freshman also, but he got on the triathlon cabinet right away, and he had started getting really involved with UCR right away as a freshman. So he kind of knew a little bit more of the ins and outs. So that's why also I was like really trying to like talk a lot more to Daniel, since he kind of knew how a little bit more of these things worked. And then Evan and myself, I would say Evan and myself definitely had a lot of passion for running in general. So did Evan. But then I was just like super like in love with running and just the club in general. So that I kind of was always trying to recruit. I remember UCR used to have a square track where I think where the new half of the gym is. It was not even a circle track. It was a dirt track that was a square shape, and there used to be tennis courts there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we used to kind of run. Occasionally we would try to hold a speed work out there, and then also we were trying to scout for anybody running, and we would literally go up to anybody that we could, like, hey, like we're starting a running club. Would you be interested in joining? Mm-hmm. Like we were just going like really. I don't know if we would consider grassroots recruiting, but that's exactly what
that sounds
doing,
pretty grassroots.
Yeah.
Like I imagine like over 10 years the meetings have kind of changed, but like yeah. I'm curious to hear like what were the meetings like when it first started?
Oh man, honestly, like I'm hoping it got easy for you guys. Like the meetings were long, they were pretty disorganized, but then the best way I can put it is like, you know, when you're in your first few years at UCR, you're barely learning how to run any kind of organization. And that's what that's the biggest part of the reason you should be joining student like clubs all over campus. You should take officer positions, because these experiences that you're currently having in a cabinet, having meetings, hopefully you'll learn like, hey, you know, this wasn't the most efficient way for when you go into a future business or future organization, that you know, like, hey, that it shouldn't be that way. But yeah, at first the meetings were really long, no real like organization. We kind of just threw out topics out there. We're like, okay, so this is what was going on. We're kind of lacking help with this and I remember at one point, probably towards like the end of my time at UCR, because I was still trying to kind of like come in, we had so many positions, so many unneeded positions to the club but it was just because we were trying to make, in my head and in some of the other cabinet members' heads, we thought more positions would make life easier on everybody. But, you know, could also be backfire. We wanted to, like, what's the saying? Too many cooks in a kitchen? Yeah. So I hope it's gotten easier for you guys. I hope the meetings are a lot better.
It's definitely a lot better. We condensed the team. I think you said that during your senior year you had like about 10 cabinet members. Now we have 7 now, and we're condensing it even more. So, yeah, it's definitely developed a lot more and a lot more organized.
That's good. That's good for you guys.
My next question is like, what kind of events did you guys do at the time? Like right now we've been doing a lot of social events and
we've been doing a lot of hikes and like bowling night.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, We tried. So the first year we were trying to get it going. There wasn't really too many my first year. Um, However, my first year, I can't remember if it was my first year, second year presidency. We were trying to do several different like fundraisers. We did one at the Shakey's. I don't know if that's still there. The Shakey's.
Yeah, the Shakey's by Iowa. Yeah.
Yeah. So we had one there where, you know, like the typical one that I'm sure a lot of clubs on campus do, where hey, you come meet at the Shakey's and you bring the flyer. Some of that money gets donated to the club, but then you quickly realize that only gets you like $10 or $20. They like donate to the club. So we did a few of those, but then I can't remember other socials. We did once make a decent amount of money in when there was a race going on. I can't remember what race, if it was a Tough Mudder or if it was or like a
5K.
Something like that.
Oh, okay.
And they were offering a deal where if you got 40 volunteers to come and help, they would give your organization like $3,000.
Oh wow.
So what? At the time, Triathlon Club was still around, and Evan actually was still a cabinet member with Triathlon Club, and he's the one that found out about it. So then he talked with me when I was a president, and we decided, why don't we get both our clubs together and we go volunteer at this event, and then we split the money, and so we got a good amount of money for the club that way. After that, we started doing like socials. After me, there was a different president. Her name was Ramen. She actually put on helped out with a few socials. Like they did a lot more hiking. So I know she was a big advocate of hiking. So they did a lot more hiking together. Mm-hmm. Then ice skating. I know they went ice skating. We went ice skating a few times. So there was that. And then there was the occasional, like, a lot of us.
I was wondering, like, when was Cesar Chavez? I mean, Cesar Chavez's mission in, and these races, Spirit of the Trebs, were all like traditions. Like, do you know which presidency like started that, or who started that tradition?
Okay, so my freshman year, before the club even started, with Triathlon Club, I remember we ran Cesar Chavez and Spirit. But then right away, my first year, I was just like, hey, we're a running club, and they're giving out like $100 to the way, like, let's just do this because that's an easy $100 for us, basically. Yeah. So it started right away. We started doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Until now too. 11 years already. So we've been training.
Consecutive winners.
That's good. I'm glad you guys still do it. It's a tough race, actually, like that.
Oh yeah, the campus race. Yeah,
really hilly race. Yeah, I remember like a minute slower, like a minute and a half slower than you would in the other race.
Yeah, because the one hill by Orbach Library, it gets everyone.
Yeah. Well, most of that race is other than the very end, is slightly uphill. Like if you pay attention, it's like slightly inclining the entire way until pretty much the end when you're coming down. I forget, by the psych building.
Yeah. By the back end.
Yeah.
So I saw on your Instagram that you were gonna run the Chicago Marathon.
Yeah.
Are there any other marathons that you've done? Like.
Yeah. So I was gonna do Chicago this year, but because of COVID, it got canceled.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I was doing that one through a charity route, so I didn't qualify for Chicago. So I was hoping I could use that to kind of help me get back into marathoning and just running in general. When I was 21, so when I was probably around your guys' age, I did LA Marathon.
Oh,
so that was my first marathon.
Yeah, I did that one.
Then I qualified for Boston based on LA. So then I marathon the year after that. And then once I graduated from UCR and I was back home, I tried ultra running.
Yeah, like 50, 100.
Yeah, I've done 2 50s, 150K, and I attempted 100 miles, but I only got to 50 miles and I had to drop out.
Dang, that's still a lot though, 50 miles, like double a marathon pretty much.
It's intense, but I mean, I encourage you all to try it.
Wait, where was it located?
The 100 I attempted?
The 100.
I attempted 100. The race was called Cool 100, and it was by Sacramento, or by like Auburn area up there. Okay. And yeah, it was. Go ahead.
Was it all trail or concrete? Or,
It was all trail.
oh dang.
It was all trail.
I feel like
But it
that's
was tough.
like I feel like that makes it like kind of harder. Like even the like it's like hard to notice, but over like
Yeah.
50 miles, I'd imagine like it's a lot tougher.
Yeah, I mean, so there's like a, you could look at it as like, oh, it might be a little bit tougher, and like in the sense you might run a slightly slower time, but in the distance of like 50 miles and 100 miles, like it won't make too much of a difference. But the dirt itself is like supposed to be a little bit softer on your feet. However, if you guys are looking to get into like ultra running at some point, so the Avalon right by Catalina Island, it's a beautiful ultra marathon. Like I highly recommend the Avalon 50. It's usually right after New Year, around January or early February.
Right.
I mean, they even offer a 50K version of that race, so like 50 kilometers, so just a little over a marathon, and beautiful race.
Yeah, that sounds nice. Like it's on Catalina, like.
Yeah,
Dang.
Catalina Island.
Dang, that's cool. All right, so I think the next question. We were just wondering like how you thought about like the club now, like after it's grown 10 years, like.
It makes me really happy that people are still interested in the club. Like it's one of those little things where I personally feel like really happy about it. I love telling people like, hey, like I was for UCR, like I started it. I usually tell them also little stories like, yeah, I actually tried to get I actually wanted to change the name from Running Club at UCR, but all my other cabinet members were all like, nah, we like it the way it is. And I was just like, all right.
Wait, what kind of name were you going to change it?
I had asked, I had brought it up at one of our meetings, like, hey, why don't we change it to Highlanders Running Club? and then they were like, nah, like we should keep it. Yeah. So I was like, all right. I was like, oh, we can keep it, but it's cool. Like, I mean, everybody, it's 10 years of it. It must be working somehow, it's going. But yeah, I love that you guys are still interested. You guys are still doing it. I love that you guys are doing this podcast, by the way. Very, very creative.
Thank you. And yeah, absolutely. Especially we want to keep going active another 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Question is that I know that we used to be part of NERCA, and was that like were you involved in any of that, or was it like later on with Froz and
yeah, the NARCA? Yeah, or right, it's NARC or NARCA?
NERCA,
yeah. I was one of the ones that started trying to get us in there. I started off like I was trying to email other local universities and colleges, like asking it. Facebook was just like this brand new thing, and I was just like, all right, messaging anybody and everybody that's like from other clubs, just Googling anybody I could from any university that was local to see if they had a running club. Mm-hmm. And what happened though is that someone from UCLA actually messaged me, and it was like, hey, like about like the running club from UCR. And I think I can't remember if it was from our original Facebook page or directly to me, but then I messaged her back, and I don't remember her name, but so then we started messaging back and forth, and she told me about NERCA, and then I can't remember, but I think I found UCI had a running club, and with UCI about so then we messaged them. So then all of a sudden there was 3 clubs that were kind of relatively close in Southern California, and then a representative from NERCA emailed me and was just like, hey, like, so this is our organization, like you guys should get involved. And I was just like, yeah, like I was all about trying to get us in. We raced, I don't know, one time, I don't know after how many times after that you guys all raced or just ever got the chance to go up and race with them.
Me and Thomas, we actually never got the opportunity to do that, and so but like one of the challenges is that the races that they have in West Region, the West Region races are all in Belmont, in Northern California. I'm actually from my hometown, very close to Foster City in Belmont. And so, what kind of how do you deal with those challenges, like with all that and funding?
Yeah, everything came out of our own pocket, basically. And what was tough is I remember I was trying my hardest to like get all the funds together from all the guys, be like, hey, like I need your money. Who's in the run? Who's not going to run? Then ordering a uniform. And I mean, again, this was all part of the learning process and just growing process as like when you're in a club, you know.
Yeah.
We all packed into a small car because there was only like 5 or 6 of us that ran that day. The first time we ran, and we all packed into a car and we drove probably like on a Friday or Saturday night. I can't remember if we ran on Saturday or Sunday, but we all packed and we drove up. The first one was for the West region, was in San Luis Obispo. So we drove up to like a I think we stayed like at a Motel 6, and we all just packed into into the motel. It was like probably all 5 of us, and we just spent the night real quick. And can't remember. I think it was me, it was Kirby, it was Evan, it was Brian, and Christian Carrera, and though we were the 5 that did that. And it was really hot that day. I think only like 2 or 3 of us finished that race.
What?
People dropped out because it was ridiculously hot. It was just so hot. Yeah. So only 2 or 3 of us from our team. But what was cool though is you got to see other people's teams too. Like you got to see like Cal State San Luis Obispo has a running club, and their running club is legit. Or at the time it was really legit. They had guys that were running like, they had like 20 guys on their team, all really competitive. And then they were telling me that they had a coach that would like constantly meet up with them once a week. And I asked him like, wait, how much do you guys pay your coach? And he's like, oh no, he volunteers. And I was like, what? Wow. He just comes volunteers once a week or twice a week to coach you guys. And yeah, it was cool to see other clubs.
Wow, that sounds really, yeah, we'll try to get that going. But that sounds really a great story. Just wondering, as both Thomas and I are graduating, like how's your post graduation, and like what have you been doing post running club in college?
Yeah, I mean, my path has been kind of like all over the place, to be honest. And I was like working as a substitute teacher, and I started coaching cross country and track pretty much right away. It's funny because like right after I graduated, I think my first job, and it was my buddy Christian like hooked me up. We were building fireworks stands during 4th of July because we just needed money. And so it was like right away, like I graduated, and like the next day I was out building fireworks stands. And then after that it was just like Target. And then from there, that's when I started sub. And then after that, I was just like, I need to get out of this and need to find something quick. So then I went to subbing and coaching. I loved coaching, and I think I loved coaching so much that the time just flew by. And I was just coaching for a couple of years, and before I knew it, I was like, man, I need to get back on to like focusing on getting some kind of career going. So
that's pretty cool.
I got my master's degree. So yeah, so I got a master's degree now, and then I have a master's degree.
Study? Sorry, what did you study?
Oh, while at UCR, I studied psychology and creative writing.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I have a master's degree in organizational psychology, and that kind of wasn't. I didn't really get too passionate about that, and then I did AmeriCorps for a year. So I did that for a year to kind of try and do something different. And now I'm like, all right, I think I missed coaching a lot. I missed working with students. So I'm going to go back into a teacher credential, actually.
Nice. That sounds cool. All right. So we're going to move on to the last segment of the podcast. It's called the final kick. It's just 10 speed round questions. All right. So the first question is, what's your favorite running event?
The marathon.
Yeah, me too. What shoe do you run in?
Brooks.
Hot or cold?
Cold.
On my rest days, I like to
swim.
Nice. What coach do you want to give a shout out to?
I would say Coach Costelli. He was my high school coach.
What book do you recommend?
Ultra Marathon Man.
All right.
By Dean Kanazi.
I've never heard of that one yet. Do you prefer the mile or 5K?
5K.
Have you ever ran a triathlon?
One.
Oh, nice. And what's your favorite breakfast?
I would say that's a tough one.
Maybe you don't eat breakfast.
I mean, right now I'm hardly eating breakfast, but I know for if it's a weekend, I would say my favorite breakfast is chilaquiles. Okay, so it's really good.
What is
if
that?
you're ever in chilaquiles, it's a Mexican dish. It's like these like you get some chips and they get soaked in salsa, and I like the with salsa verde, so like the green salsa, and I like it with chicken, and then they put like an egg on top. I like mine with like an over easy egg on top, and it's actually really good. And if you guys are ever in Orange County, Tustin area, I'm gonna just put this little plug in right there. I know they're not sponsoring us, but
go ahead.
El Camino Cafe in Tustin, best chilaquiles I've ever had. So give it a shot.
Right. Sounds good.
Sounds good. So usually we end up. That sounds really cool. Usually we end with a quote, but we just wanted to ask you for advice for because we want for this club to go on forever, right? So running club will never be complete as long as there's imagination and passion in the club, and we'll continue to grow. And so I was wondering if you have any advice for us for the future of the club.
Oh, that's a good one. I think you did a great job right now. Stay creative, continue to stay positive with the club, continue to one thing I always say is with the club when first starting, you're kind of also trying to sell not like you're trying to make friendships, you're trying to give people friendships, because people can go run by themselves if they want to, but why would they run with our club? They want to run with our club because they want to be part of the group. They want to make friends. They want to have a environment. So as long as you guys continue to do that, I think the club will stick around and grow.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Definitely learned that this year.
100%. Me and Thomas, we met freshman year, and literally we both came in, just wanted to meet cool people, and literally now we are really great friends. We hang out a lot, and so we met so many great people, wonderful people along the way as well. So it's just been a really great journey, and I love that how I really appreciate that you actually created this club for us to build it and grow for years to come.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you. We're going to keep lots of the traditions. Thank you for our viewers who are watching. Definitely join in. Definitely it's a family. We treat each other like family here. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow our Facebook, Instagram. And right now for the summertime, we've been using Strava. So our trailblazer, Nikhil, he's been posting workouts on there. So if you can join the Strava group, that would be wonderful. And so thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.